This is a Zoe box. Essentially, it's an encoder and streamer. It supports RTMP, it does SRT. You basically you have a HDMI input connected to the network, have an HDMI output just for monitoring. It's like a pass-through. Tells you the input signal, 1080p, 60 Hz or close enough. It can also record, and that's its IP address. Currently it's encoding at 2500 bits per second. My input is a Chromecast. Chromecast is my input device. So what I've done is just connected a Chromecast, and essentially I connect and stream into the Chromecast, so that's my source. And the output at the moment is going TV for monitoring. Now this is not streamed, that's just passed through from Chromecast. Okay, so it's the same sort of resolution whatever's coming into the Chromecast. Okay, so we're now going to go to the shack and have a look at what we're going to be doing. Essentially, we're going to be taking this stream and putting it into the Pluto to transmit on RTV. This is the Pluto. Pluto is connected via the network. So essentially, there's an antenna here. There's the spectrum analyzer, so we can see the signals coming out of it. This is a monitor connected to the receiver. The receiver is just an ordinary set-top box tuned to 1287. This is a mobile phone, and I'm streaming this particular video. I'll just skip this ad, and let's just rewind it to the beginning. So this is my source, and that is going to the Chromecast. Chromecast is being encoded, and this is the control panel for the encoder. It's a Zoe Tech. At the moment it's streaming.
Nuanced conversation of the tech world and beyond. I'm Alex Kantrowitz, and I'm thrilled to welcome Jan LeCun,
That's the
Turing Award winner and a man
TMP URL. My Pluto is sitting at that address, 113. There's more in the string, but that's essentially the string. And currently it's streaming at 2700 kilobits. The actual video encoding at the moment, it's H.264. By the way, Pluto, the firmware on the Pluto will not do 265. It doesn't mean that the Pluto won't do it, but currently the firmware, hang on, let's just pause this. Currently the firmware doesn't support 265. I don't know what they're doing on it, but if you do 265, you just won't get an output from the Pluto. So essentially my resolution, this is my encoding stream, is at 1090 to 1080 constant bitrate. The bitrate is 2500, frame rate 60, iframe 120. And what I've got, my output, this is essentially the pass-through that went to the TV, which is the same. Audio is essentially HDMI, 128 kilobits. And that's basically it. So what we've got here, we've got the actual live stream, which is currently being streamed, and that's how many kilobits it's using. So we're going to go back. This is the Pluto control panel. Because it's on a network, it can be accessed. That's my network address, 113. It's quite a lot here. I'm not going to go into all the details, but we can have a look at the analysis part, and that shows us the actual quality of the video stream. At the moment it's not streaming anything because I've stopped it. But what I'm going to do, just let's have a look at the monitor. That's the monitor. And I'm going to start it again, okay? Well, first of all, it is still transmitting RF, but there's just no data, obviously. And start the stream. And
that type of stuff from AI.
Here it goes.
Well, from AI, yes. Types of AI architectures, right? And
What?
The quality is pretty good, actually. Just the stream. Oh, hang on. It's not started.
We'll discuss it with AI scientist and Turing Award winner Jan LeCun. Welcome to Big Technology Podcast, a nuanced conversation of the tech. And I'm thrilled to welcome Jan LeCun, scientist, Turing Award winner, and a man.
I'm just going to stop the video for a sec. I just got to configure something. I'm just getting a bit of a dropout. Just getting a few dropouts, not sure what. It's just probably me fiddling here.
are trained on a amount of, and they're trained to basically regurgitate, to retrieve, to essentially produce answers that are conform.
Okay, I think I know what's going on. Somehow or other my audio got reset.
We also know that they can
The bitrate should be 64.
But they're really in their
Stream bitrate has to be synchronized to the encoding bitrate. If they're not the same, there will be all sorts of starts and stops. Hopefully it'll come up. There we go.
Or dare to ask. One that writes, what if everyone is wrong about this when all textbooks, experts, and common knowledge suggest otherwise?
Even a game as timeless as baseball.
Don't forget, this is just a YouTube stream. This is live as I'm recording it. It's 21/28 and the date. The overlay is provided by the encoder. I can actually basically press a little button here and it'll actually go on and it'll go off. I've just switched it off. It'll take a second because it's... That's basically my on-screen different sort of overlays that I can have, and that's my live stream. So at the moment I've defined my Pluto stream. You could have multiple Plutos or other SDRs or SRTs or whatever, and you just press that and it'll actually go and feed it in there. It could be YouTube. And that's my live image for monitoring.
To teach LLM to do that.
And that is RF live on monitor.
Not in their current form. And whatever form of AI would be able to do that will not be LLMs. They might use LLM as one component. LLMs are useful to turn, to produce text. Okay, so we might, in the future AI systems, we might use them to turn a market area. It's about this big. That's our LLM. Okay, but we don't think in language. We think in mental representations of a situation. We have mental models of everything we think about. We can think.
Okay, this is pretty impressive.
And that
Don't forget, we've got a Pluto here. It's not connected to anything. It's just connected to a power supply. This is just essentially power and network. It's one of these network/power adapters, and it actually came from a Google Chromecast Ultra, and they actually enabled the Ultra to actually work with a network directly rather than Wi-Fi, and at the same time they also provided the power. But you can buy these things. I just happen to have a spare one, so that's basically why I used it. And that's the Pluto. It's just basically being powered up. It could be anywhere, as long as the output of it goes to RF, well, transmitter. At the moment it's just local because my receiver is not too far away. It's a couple of meters away. And that's my little 1287 little whip antenna, roughly cut to that frequency. 23 cents, probably a bit longer. That's the spectrum. We can actually see that it's actually, well, it's supposed to be on frequency, it is. And you can see it. It's pretty good. and at the bottom you can see the total crap here, but it is what it is. So at the moment the stream is quite solid, audio is good. I had big problems with the audio, I couldn't figure out what was going on. I still am not 100% sure, but I think it's to do with synchronizations of stream bitrate and Pluto bitrate. They've got to be the same. It could be something to do with the encoder. The Zoe box is a new little device I got. They're not cheap, but what they offer are pretty good. So how much is this whole system, or what do you need? You need a Pluto, that's it, nothing else. Obviously the network connector, but that's a couple of, it's an OTG with a, well, it doesn't have to be like I've done it. This is just like a simple wire, but you can use other things. Yeah, it just, hang on, let me just get rid of the audio here. Okay, I've just muted the monitor. Yeah, the Pluto has to go into some sort of a box connected to an amplifier, and that could be in a separate box literally right next to your antenna. It could be very, very close to the antenna, so you're getting maximum power. And it could be in a weatherproof box. You can feed it with a power over Ethernet little adapter, so basically all the power going to it could be via an RJ45, which does the network as well. That's not directly interfaceable to the Pluto, that's like a separate little module, but you can use that to drive the Pluto and possibly even get enough power. Probably not actually, the amplifier would need an external supply, so it probably defeats the whole thing with the power over Ethernet. But anyway, you can, basically Pluto could be anywhere as long as it's on the network. As a matter of fact, it could be even in another QTH. It doesn't really matter as long as it's on a network. As a matter of fact, you could even have it sitting in the cabinet at Mount View, connected to an amplifier. And as long as you have an IP address, you can get the data to it. Anyway, to satisfy people, it's going to be in a box not too far away from my source. So my source is my mobile phone at the moment, playing a stream which is going to a Chromecast, which is connected to the encoder, and the encoder is being monitored here. That's the live view from the encoder. Because the encoder is on a network, we can monitor it and we can see what's going on, and we can then enable the stream. Could be YouTube, could be anything. Well, Pluto is just an RTMP string, and it is basically streaming it. And the streaming is going to the Pluto. The firmware recognizes that stream, turns it into RF, and then we're broadcasting it. So let's just have a look what the Pluto is doing. We don't have that particular parameter here. I don't think Pluto really cares whatever gets sent to it. The main thing is that the Pluto is actually running 4,000 kilosymbols, and the mode is DVB-S. We've got S2. Let's just try that. See what happens with the S2. Well, it's been on air for quite a while. I'm going to put it back on S. Yeah, that's basically it. The firmware for the Pluto is it's 3.03. This is it. it's really quite a detailed bit of firmware. It does all sorts of interesting things. It tells you how to set up things, RTMP string, you know, the format of it, the sort of syntax, even the vmix. You can have OBS settings. You can have one of these little encoders. I've got one of those. I actually bought that on Amazon. It was $100, exactly the same encoder. I don't know. I haven't really played it. I played with it. It works, but I haven't done what I'm doing with the Zoe box. So yeah, and what do we got here? The guy who wrote this, he is, that's all the different revisions. This is really old firmware, and I'm surprised people are not really using it that much. It's F50EO. He actually produced this bit of software, and quite a long time ago. He even had a support page that you can just click online and and connect to him. I don't know if it's still active, but yeah, look, he's done some really great work, and unfortunately there haven't been that many people that people are using it, but considering this was done several years ago, I'm just surprised there wasn't many other people. My only conclusion is that there's a lot of old folk playing around with QA100, and they're just not interested in the SDRs. They just want turnkey, i.e. ports down or something like that. Just press a button and go. This is not so friendly. You really got to understand what's going on. But once you set it up, it works quite well at the moment. Or at least I'm finding it working quite well. It's still streaming. Quite stable picture. Audio is working. Everything's fine. I know people will say, what about the PIDs? Well, at the moment on that receiver, last time I used it, it accepted the PIDs that I've got. And also, you never know, Peter may put a hello box there where he doesn't really care about the PIDs. So yeah, that's a work in progress, and people can have a really, really cheap way of getting on air. Just a single Pluto and a streaming encoder. That's it. Or it doesn't have to be, you don't even need the encoder, you can use OBS, like a PC or something. But this, at the moment, uses no PC. In other words, I don't need, okay, I'm controlling it with the PC, but I don't need that. Essentially, the HDMI input, which is the Chromecast, could be a camera, could be anything, could be a mixer. It does not, this system does not require any computing device. It has computing devices, but they all, in a box. There is no control surface for you to fiddle with once it's set up. But yeah, this is really good. I'm pretty impressed with that signal. Very nice, clear picture. 1080p on a Pluto. It looks good. So guys, this is a real preview. If I have time, I'm going to put it all in a box, and Pelican box and everything, and then I'll do a nice detailed video of how all this works and set it up and all that. But this is proof of concept at the moment for all the doubters. It is working, stable RF, and it's just running on a Pluto, and it's not even warm. Ooh, yeah, having said that, it is warm. That's the FPGA. That is the radio chip. Yeah, the radio chip is very, very, well, nothing. It's just lukewarm. This is quite warm. Obviously, it's doing a lot of crunching. So there we go. This Pluto was on AliExpress. It was about $230, $40 or something, just under $250 delivered. Essentially, that's what you get, PCB, no case, which is fair enough. And at the moment, I've actually got it. It's going into a case for me. It's got these little, what do you call it, little stick-ons, and basically that goes to the surface of the case. Just correct that. And yeah, and pretty good, pretty flexible, very capable SDR. The actual RF chip, analog devices 9361, I think it is. Very, very capable radio chip. You know, it's used in lots of things, including SDRs costing, you know, $2,000 or more. So it's not the RF chip, it's the firmware and the FPGA and what you do with the RF chip. But Pluto is pretty good. So the problem with the bandwidth is not because of the Pluto, it's because of the way that the firmware is written and how it sort of deals with all the data. So there we go. All right, guys, this is it. Jan LeCun, Mr. AI, he's still talking about stuff. Audio, I think, is still pretty good. Let's just have a listen, just in case, if it's still working. Hang on, here we go.
If it doesn't come quickly enough, is the investment
he's still going.
justified? Okay, so the first thing you
There's
can say
time.
is we are not going to get to human
I'm going to go and have some dinner.
by just setting up an This is just not
It's
going to
March the 20th.
That's your perspective.
And
yeah,
I think I had enough. I was fiddling with this. I only got the Zoe box the other day because on paper it looks good and in real life it looks good. So I'm happy with that. Once again, you don't need the Zoe box. You can use OBS. You can use vMix. Anyway, guys, take care. All the best. See you later.